It is 14 minutes before 8 o'clock and a warm welcome back. Now, students from the various universities gathered in Cape Town for a seminar on decolonizing education yesterday. Now, the discussion follows discomfort with colonial symbols at the University of Cape Town after some students called for the removal of the statue of Cecil John Rhodes from their campus in 2015. Now, Chumani Maxwele led the #Rhodes Must Fall movement and also attended the event yesterday. He now joins me now from a Pretoria studio. A very good morning to you, Chumani. Thank you so much for joining us now. You were very much part of the #Rhodes Must Fall movement back in 2015. So what would you say is the state of transformation at our universities?
Yeah, well, the state of our transformation at the university at the moment it's improving because there is a very interesting approach and willingness to change things. Hence, we talk about decolonizing the curriculum of our higher institutions. And I suppose that the new knowledge production that is taking place at the moment is coming at the fore. And we've been calling for that. And that, for us, it's about the focusing of knowledge production in the African, and the knowledge production that is centered on African experiences as African people. And I suppose one of the things that we are interested in is people to produce new knowledge, such as people who do thesis or their PhD postdoctoral work on the meaning of, for example, of Makoti or Ulaluko or Ubukweta and so on. And those are the things that we think that if they can be taught in our higher learning institution, can change the reproduction of knowledge. And of course, when we talk about decolonization of knowledge, is essentially about, as Professor Mahmoud Mamdani would say, centering our experiences as African people. What is our experiences? How do we feel about what has been happening in Africa? And how do we put that as become part of knowledge production in our learning institutions?
Now, when student leaders and other educators call for the decolonization of education, so what steps are being proposed for this to be achieved? Well, the main thing is that we propose that the question of who teaches in our learning institution and what is being taught in our learning institution. For example, in health sciences or in medicine, to be specific, we have not centered the knowledge production around African medicine and African spirituality. We know that there's a lot of Maxwele, and traditional healers who have particular knowledge in medicine, but those people have been sidelined from our learning institution, and their knowledge of medicine and the way of healing our people that date back in 1600 have not been centered in our medical schools as well as social sciences schools, where we are saying, therefore, if we can be able to have a qualified Igqeha who knows something about Ubukwele or Ubugqeha, can be able to teach people about the way in which they generate knowledge in relation to medicine. And I think for us, if we can center that as part and parcel of our curriculum, and then African children can know what is it that Africa offers in the world of medicine, in the world of knowledge about medicine and well-being of African people. And I suppose that we can be able to teach the world about the generation of medical knowledge. And of course, people are always saying that Africa is the cradle of humankind. But what is it that has been a centering about Africa in relation to the human development in medicine or in science and so on? Hence, for us, we are saying if we have that kind of knowledge, then African kids will be proud of themselves. And fair enough. And I mean, we should be asking ourselves this question: what should decolonizing education mean, and what it should not mean? So, what would you say are the most significant sticking points that came out of the seminar yesterday?
Well, I mean, the major thing about the decolonial seminars is essentially what is it that people are saying in different spheres.
And of course, people thought that when we were protesting about the approach of knowledge production in our universities, they thought that we are not listening to the people. But the reality of the matter is that we are keen and willing to listen to other people. But when we center our own views, our own understanding that has been marginalized for a very long time, is in fact a way of coordinating approaches and willingness to listen. Essentially, what was very important was that indeed people are keen to listen to each other and are willing to have different views. And of course, there's resistance within the mainstream knowledge production, such as universities and professors, who think that the old ways of doing things, the status quo that has been happening, is the right way to do things. And for now, we now know that, in fact, certain things are offensive to Africans, such as the statues, the symbols that are going all over our country, the names that have been used in cities and towns and the streets in our country. And those things, for a very long time, have not been questioned and challenged by us and our parents. And now we are starting to question that. And there is, in fact, a willingness to take a different stand and said, look, let's listen and hear what these young people are saying. And I suppose part of that exercise is, in fact, a knowledge production itself. And I think people are willing to take that initiative and break new grounds about knowledge, and then how are we to be taught about African value system and knowledge production. And of course, many people, such as Ngungiwa Tiongo, were saying this thing as early as 1980s, saying that it is important for African kids to learn about their own people and tell a story of their own experiences. Without that, we cannot be a significant or produce a significant contribution towards knowledge production, either in Africa or in Europe. But we want, in fact, to really turn the gaze of knowledge production and learning of new ways of teaching, new ways of knowing who we are, what are we doing, and
okay,
what
Chumani,
are we hoping
I'm afraid
to
we
do
have to
in
end
the
it there.
next
Time
future,
is really not
as
on our
Africans.
side. But then thank you so much for chatting to us this morning. Student activist Chumani Maxwele speaking to us from our Pretoria studios. This is Morning Live. Let's go for an ad break.